All right, let's call to order the Town of Middleton Planning Board meeting Wednesday, February 14th, here at the Fuller Meadow School. Will everybody please silence their phones? First order of business is the minutes from January 10. Anybody have a question about them, issue with them, anything like that? We all had a chance to review them?
Yes.
I'll take a motion.
I make
Go ahead, sorry.
a motion to approve January 10th meetings without changes.
The minutes? Yeah.
Minutes.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Number 2, ZBA recommendations, 334 North Main Street, S&K Industrial Properties, special permit site plan modification to replace pocket wetland with subsurface retention system. Sir?
Good evening. For the record, John Moran from the Moran Cameron Group. We are here tonight representing Scott 5 Company LLC for a recommendation from the Planning Board to the Zoning Board for a modification to a special permit that was issued back in 2016 for the property at 334 Main Street. We were retained by the owner of the property to assist him with closing out the existing permits, the Zoning Board permit, the conservation permit. We had done the as-built plan. When we started evaluating the data, there was a pocket wetland that was part of the design for the drainage out at the front, right out by 114. That pocket wetland was actually too small. It wasn't built per the plan. We went back to our client, explained that to him, and he said, well, if I got to rebuild it anyway, is there anything you can do to try to eliminate this? Because it's a maintenance nightmare. You know, it's collecting a lot of trash from 114 because of the vegetation that's in the pond. You can't just go down and pick it out, you know, and you can't, the landscapers can't just mow it and get it that way. So what we did is we evaluated the original drainage design, determined that we could replace the pocket wetland with a underground retention system using infiltration chambers. I'm sure you've seen them. So the plan, so the pocket wetland, here's 114 at the top of the page. There's 2 existing buildings that were built out there, drive aisle coming in the middle. Pocket wetland sits right out front. I'm sure you've all seen it. It's got vegetation in it. During large storm events, it fills up with water, stays filled with water for a few days. So what we did is we designed a new type of inlet to provide treatment, because there's a 4-bay here for the pocket wetland. We needed to take up that space for the 4-bay. To fit all that in, we supplied the ZBA with the drainage calcs for that. We've already had 1 meeting with the Conservation Commission. The only question they asked is, right in this vicinity right here, we've got some grading on the backside of this slope. The wetlands are all right in here. They asked us if we could actually take this system, rotate it clockwise a little bit, try to pull the grading out of the wood line so that we wouldn't have to alter any of the vegetation along that edge. We told them that shouldn't show that, but that was their only comment. So we're here tonight just looking for a recommendation from the planning board. We actually spoke to the building inspector last summer, early in the summer, to verify what type of filing we had to do for this. He asked us to go before the zoning board. We met with the zoning board, and that's how we got to the major modification. We were hoping that based on the way the special permit was written, the modification for the drainage may have fallen under one of the conditions that would have allowed the building inspector to approve it. But they decided that because of the change, they asked us to come before the board. So that's why we're here.
Katrina, is there any way you can zoom in on that?
There should be.
There we go.
There.
So the underground retention tanks, they, by what factor do they exceed the capacity of the existing?
Well, the capacity is about the same,
Okay.
because it's all the same runoff, all the same drainage patterns are heading to this area. So we had to mitigate for whatever the pocket wetland technically had to mitigate for. The problem is the original pocket wetland, you know, right now it takes up an area about right here. it was actually supposed to come out to about here. So he would have had to excavate all this section out to get the pocket wetland to meet the volume that was designed under the original application. So it's not so much that we're providing more storage, it's just, it's underground. So to cut for it, you know, just the footprint's a little bigger. We're actually utilizing the existing outlet control structure that's right here. We're gonna modify the inside of it, but the structure itself is gonna stay. The outlet pipe's gonna stay exactly the same, and even though we really don't need it, there's a level spread spillway that currently exists, which was part of the original design, that's gonna stay as well. So it's just a benefit, so there's no need to take it out. The one other thing that Conservation asked us to do, and I'll be talking to the zoning board, if instead of just leaving the slope a grass slope, they asked us if we could do some plantings along the slope and some plantings along the base where it's level. And our client doesn't have any problems with that. So we'll be talking to the zoning board about that tomorrow night.
Seems like this is a more expensive alternative than just to excavate what's already there. So I'm curious, what goes into his decision-making to do this rather than just continue the excavation of the existing pocket wetland?
It's the maintenance of that pocket wetland and just the aesthetic. And, you know, that's what he doesn't want, obviously, for this property. I mean, it looks really nice every time he cleans it, but then within days, I mean, you know 114.
Oh, yeah.
Where does the trash come from? There's no
It's
fast food or anything around there.
It's just blowing down the highway.
Really?
People throw it out of their car windows.
They do throw it out of their cars,
It's terrible.
unfortunately.
If you're driving on 114, sometimes you'll realize, like,
Yeah.
why
This
people
thing's
do it.
becoming like and it's the vegetation within the pond itself, it just catches it.
Yeah.
And like I said, if it was, because what's going to happen is this will just be grassed over eventually. All the landscaping in the front's going to stay the same. Anything that blows in now, if it's just sitting on the lawn, the landscapers will end up getting it. It's easy to pick up. Whereas trying to go down into the pond to get it, well, now you got to go mucking down into the pond, and it's not as easy to grab because it's in between all the vegetation.
Not to mention, you won't have tons of standing water around for mosquitoes to breed.
Right, it's just
That too.
healthier.
Yep.
Katrina, what do we think about this from an office perspective?
I think it's fine. I don't see any problems with it. I know you submitted a stormwater management plan to the ZBA, and so they'll be reviewing that tomorrow. They're the ones that get all the information. Unfortunately, the planning board is supposed to be reviewing that stuff, but you don't get any of that information, so it's kind of tough for you to make recommendations on it.
Right, which is why I wanted to hear what the office had to say.
Yeah.
Hear anything?
Has he gotten any feedback from the tenants as far as coming out of there, safety, going left, right? I know that it looks like there's a pretty good clearing to the right where that retention pond is now. There's a couple of small immature trees there. But I can see that kind of being a turning nightmare.
Yeah, he's never had any issues coming and going into the site, with the exception of one. There was a tractor trailer that for some reason pulled in here and
Yeah, couldn't
got
turn
stuck.
around.
Like, he couldn't turn around.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, he was actually in Florida, and he was telling me he gets a call from one of the tenants, and they're like, yeah, this guy just pulled in here, now he's stuck. So you'll see, actually, on the as-built plan, he put a sign up right here that's like, no tractor trailer, turn around. But that's the only issue that he ever had. He's never had any issues with people, regular vehicles and people that are leasing the units coming and going. I mean, all in all, the project was built in compliance with the approved plan. It's just this pocket wetland issue.
Yep.
Anthony, you got anything else?
No, good.
I don't know.
All right, sounds reasonable plan to me. I'll take a motion.
I'd like to make a positive recommendation to the ZBA for the proposed modified site plan at 334 North Main Street with conditions that the pocket wetland be replaced with adequate and suitable vegetation native to that area.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you very much.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Okay. Number 3, vote to begin zoning amendment process under Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5. Proposed zoning amendments include MBTA multifamily housing, two-family housing, and accessory dwelling units. Schedule public hearing for February 26th. Actually, it's going to change now. It's not going to be February 26th, correct?
Right,
Right.
right. Would you like me
March
to provide an
12th.
update?
Actually, yes, please.
Okay. So, yes, tonight you were going to be voting to schedule a public hearing for February 26th. However, there are a lot of requirements under state law for changing your zoning amendments. You need to publish in the paper, you need to post in town, you need to send notices to abutting towns, you need to send notices to MAPC and EOHLC. We did everything except we were a day late on posting the public hearing notice at Town Hall. After asking Town Council advice, he said, you could go forward. The Attorney General has a process for dealing with small little, publishing notice problems like this. In fact, I just showed you in the paper tonight, the Ipswich Chronicle. Ipswich apparently had a problem, and what you have to do is you have to post like a full-page ad explaining what the error was, a year after the problem occurred. So Town Council said, I would suggest just pick another public hearing date, do it over again, and do it the right way. Don't forget anything. And I agree after seeing what you have to do to fix the error. So we have asked for availability of the cafe or the cafetorium here, because I think that there will be a crowd that night. And they do have Tuesday, March 12th open. And I believe most of you can go. All of you can be there that night.
Yep.
And
Yes.
so,
We can.
but
We still have to wait
before you schedule that public hearing, let's talk about the zoning amendments. Because now we have more time to work on it, Town Council was able to review the changes made after the last public forum. We heard at that public forum, people were worried about the number of units being approved. Now, we can add a cap to it. We could just say a maximum of 5 or 10 units per year. We added the cap, but it was to the accessory dwelling unit bylaw, which were units attached by right and detached units by special permit. You cannot put a cap on uses by right. I knew that. I missed it. And so what we did is we revised the language on pages 5 and 6 to show that, this is page 6 and 7. We also moved it from under physical requirements and put it only under detached, because the cap only applies to the detached accessory dwelling units now. And it says now, no more than 5 special permits for new detached accessory dwelling units shall be issued by the planning board in a single calendar year. And so that was the only change that was made to the draft that was sent to you a couple of weeks ago. And if you approve this change, then the board is ready to vote to send it to the select board to start the zoning amendment process.
Okay. I'm surprised Town Council only had this one.
Is
Well, he's
5
already reviewed it. He
Okay.
already thoroughly reviewed the rest of it, but we made some changes. We wanted to make sure those changes we made were okay.
Is 5 a number we got based on feedback, or is that something that, how do we determine 5 was a good number for
The other
maximum?
one said 10. I know after looking at all the statistics, we're not going to get many of these.
I was figuring 2 or 3 a year.
Right, and that's the average in the towns around us, 2 or 3. So I'm like, why not go to 5? And because if people are worried, they'll like 5 better than 10. And so I figured 5 was a good place to start. Now, remember, when the planning board has the public hearing, you can talk about these, you can change, you can make changes to any of these amendments, as long as it doesn't change the scope totally. And so you can either take away that, you could make all of the accessory dwelling units by special permit. That's something we heard too, make it all by special permit. I also heard at the public forum, a lot of people were worried about allowing the two families by right. And so the board is going to have to explain that we grant special permits now, but there's no criteria to really look at. We just basically issue them, and so it's a waste of town admin time, it's a waste of the board's time. And so you can listen to what the public has to say and make those kinds of changes.
Is it easier to go, I always prefer to, if we're going to make changes, to start small and then let it scale up if we determine it's not sufficient? Do you think it would be easier if we said a cap of 3 per year to go from 3 to 5 in the future versus going from 5 to 3? If people are worried about,
Stepping.
You know what?
overstimulation of.
How about if you wait for the public hearing? Because
Yeah.
then you can show the public you're listening and you're
Right.
making
I was
changes.
gonna say, because if we say 5, they say, no, it's too much, so we say, okay, we'll go down to 3.
Yeah, yeah, and I think
Yeah.
it's probably easier to go from 3 to 5 in the future if
Oh.
we determine that there's a need and a warrant for it versus, going from 5, then
To
having to
10.
rescale it back down to 3 or
Or up.
vice versa, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially because what I heard, I listened into a lot of the public hearings. I wasn't physically there, but I had some other people too express that they were concerned about people taking advantage of it, and especially the first couple of years, just getting a bunch of applications.
Right.
So if we limit it to 3 and we see how it goes, and we can always increase.
Well, also, there's a lot of illegal ones out there already.
Right.
And so we would like to encourage them to come in and permit it. I don't know if there's enough incentive for them to come in and go through the permit process. I guess it would add to the value when you're selling your house to say you've got a legal,
Yep.
accessory dwelling unit rather than an illegal one. So the first year, we could possibly get, a bunch of people coming in trying to make theirs legal. But we'll just have to see. But I think the cap will hopefully help persuade those that are worried about the unknown
Yeah.
to vote for it.
That was a concern that I had, actually. It's like, what if somebody who's handy decides to go ahead and build their own without getting Scott involved, without anything like that? How do we enforce them to not do that? How do we, make sure that they get all the permitting and everything?
They're out there right now.
I mean, how do we
There's not a
stop
lot
them?
you
You mean
can
if they have
do.
a bigger lot or something, they want to build it?
Well, what if they just build an attached, ADU without going through the process, without getting?
Because they apply for the permit and,
Well, if
When
they
they
apply
go,
for the
when they go to
permit,
sell, they
Don't
won't be able
apply.
to sell it because it's an unpermitted addition on the land.
So neighbors
to
would
go
have to
have trouble.
complain.
Yeah.
Especially if they had 2 mailboxes out there, if they had separate utilities. There's ways to that it's obvious that it's a separate one. But you could also put on an addition and put a kitchen in it, because people can have 2 kitchens in their house, with a bedroom, and have, your parents move in there, or your kids move in there, and there's really nothing you can say about that.
but with the bedroom, we're gonna have a problem with the septic. Because if you have.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
because if you
So
have a.
that would come with the building permit, and so you would apply for a building permit for an addition. I'm sorry, I'm explaining how to put in an illegal.
No, what I'm saying, kitchens, yes, I understand. Kitchens, you can have as many kitchens you want in a house, like 2, 3
Yep.
kitchens, that's fine. But when you add a bedroom, there is a problem with the septic.
Right,
I know because sometimes I build, then I have this problem in the past.
yep, septic is based
Yeah,
on.
I have
number
to
of
change
bedrooms.
this, then, almost sometimes I have to change the entire septic system, because if you wanna add 1 bedroom in the property,
Right.
so, yeah, just saying, because. What about if, my question is, what about if someone wanna add a bedroom there? What they
without
gonna-
coming to the town or
Yes.
anything. And now their septic system is
It doesn't
getting
support-
overrun,
yeah.
and it's affecting their neighbor and that sort of thing.
So-
We saw what happened to the septic system in the Teresa's lot, when it came out onto the lot.
And we have
Truck
some
area.
septic, which is like right next to the wetland and conservation land too.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have contamination on those.
And so if you
No, I'm just
applied for a
saying, like,
building
I'm not
permit
trying to-
for any kind of bedroom, that would be sent to the health department at the building permit stage. And so, you might have to expand your septic, or I'm not sure what they would have you do. but there's nothing stopping you from putting on a bedroom.
And not calling it a bedroom. You don't have to call it a bedroom, you can call it an office.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It can be anything, you know,
Yeah.
an extra family room.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's kind of it's hard to pinpoint people at that point. But I do have a question. So if we only have for 3 permits a year and people step forward and say, I have one, can we get permitted now? Will that take up part of the 3 that we're going to issue that year?
Well, yes.
It will,
Yes.
right? Even though they're pre-existing.
It's
and-
5 right now, too.
Well, yeah, for
Also-
example, if we change it.
I will say, did I bring it with me here tonight? So, no, there's a House bill it was presented last October, and it contains language that would require that all towns in Massachusetts permit accessory dwelling units, and it could be even by right. And so we may see in a couple of years that this is just going to all be allowed by right. I'm not sure, though. I don't think they've finalized the language of the bill, but they are working on it right now. And so if we feel that 5 isn't enough, it could be changing, or it could be a mandate in a couple of years
Okay,
to
so,
just allow them all.
and everything coming forward, but will go against whatever number we end up having.
Is there a way we could formulate it so that we could say this is for new,
Yeah, like
like
new.
new construction? Anyone who already has a
That's
existing non-conforming accessory dwelling unit that wishes to permit, it won't count against the 5 applications for new ADUs?
Well, you know what? The attached units are not limited. It's only
The detached?
the detached. And so I doubt there's people there with a detached in-law apartment.
Unless they have it over a detached garage,
Right, but I would think they
Or a
would have been
barn.
caught by
a
now.
barn.
Yeah,
Because I know some people, they have a barn, and if you allow them, they will go right away to try to have a in-law.
Right.
Yeah. Because the barn sometimes, not all the time, the barn, they are the setup is there, right? The only thing I have to do is have a permit, and then you close the walls, do everything like this.
right.
Yeah.
That's why I think, we're gonna have a bunch of people applying for those things. Like, I agree with him when he say like, maybe we have we can say like only for new construction or only for something like,
Yeah, limited.
I mean, I'd rather see people who have existing non-conforming come in to get permitted, retroactively or whatever they want to do, to get on the books. Because, A, like you said, they'll be able to sell it as listed, but B, that also increases the tax base. If
Yes.
it's permitted, that
So-
means that they're actually gonna have to pay for the secondary dwelling or whatever. And there's the money that the school people are concerned about, that we're not gonna have enough money because we're gonna have too many kids and so on and so forth.
I think maybe for tonight, we should limit discussion to, is this language acceptable as it is? Is it something you can work with at the public hearing? And then save all this discussion for the public hearing, so that the public is here to respond to what you're saying, too.
I think that makes sense.
Well, I mean, as it stands right now, I think 5 is a pretty decent number. We can tweak as we
It's a
see
good
fit
number.
later.
I think it's a fair number.
Yeah, there's nothing special about 5. 5 you can definitely play with. And so, the motions you would need to make are to send the zoning amendments to the select board, to start the process under 40A, Section 5, and also to schedule a public hearing for Tuesday, March 12th.
So when we send it to the select board and then we have the public hearing, do we then, after the public hearing, if we decide to make revisions, send the revisions to the select board for the following meeting? How does that work?
Yes, we send the revised amendment back to the select board with a recommendation.
Okay.
We recommend these changes, in other words.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so I guess we need a motion, 2 motions, actually, for number 3. Anybody?
I make a motion to send the proposed zoning amendments, which include
Yep, number 3, yeah.
which include a proposed overlay district that allows the MBTA multifamily housing, allowing 2 housing by right, allowing accessory dwelling units and associated zoning map changes.
Do we have a second?
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then the second motion of number 3.
Okay. I make motion to schedule a public hearing under the MGL Chapter 40A, Section 5, for the proposed zoning amendments
Second?
For Tuesday, March 12th,
for Tuesday, March 12th,
7 PM?
7 p.m. at
7
Fuller Middle School.
at Fuller Meadow School.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Number 4, discussion and vote to amend the planning board's rules under section 240, general rules, and under section 248, stormwater management, to change all general specific pronouns to general neutral pronouns, manner consistent with the examples provided in the warrant for the annual town meeting in 2021.
Gotta be PC.
Yes. So I don't know if any of you remember that article at the 2021 town meeting. It barely passed, but what passed is we were going to change all the pronouns in our town code to gender neutral. So we just passed our general rules, which include special permit, and then general rules for the planning board. I forgot about this, and I used the old-fashioned his, him throughout the whole thing. We need to change it back. And so it's relatively simple. You can do it with just a motion, because you can revise those rules at any regular meeting of yours. And then the town clerk said that she would have either its E-code or their office would change all of those to the gender neutral. And so, well, I guess I'll explain the next item on the agenda when you get to it, because there is a problem with that.
Okay. We have a motion for number 4?
General rules, section 248, stormwater
Yeah.
management. Let me pull that up real quick.
I can pull it up on the big screen, too.
Yeah, I just want to take a look at the 248 stormwater management. General rules, here we go. Oh, I think these are the old ones. Oh, no, these are the right ones. General rules. Sounds like it's something that we need to do.
Yeah, the town voted it, and so there's a majority of residents that are for this. So it's something that we should do because it was voted at town meeting in 2021.
So is it basically changing, like, he, him to board member,
Right.
essentially? Okay.
Chairman to chairperson. However, if you're chair, you can be called chairman if you're a man. You know, that's talking about a particular person.
Gotcha.
It's just when it's neutral and we don't know who we're talking about, that it's going to be gender neutral.
Yep. I'll make a motion to amend the planning board's rules under section 240 general rules and 248 stormwater management, changing any gender-specific pronouns to gender-neutral pronouns.
We have a second?
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And just a note to everybody, I'd like to be chairman.
Noted.
All right, number 5, schedule public hearings to amend the planning board subdivision regulations according to Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Section 81Q, to change all gender-specific pronouns to gender-neutral pronouns in a manner consistent with the examples provided in the warrant for the annual town meeting of 2021.
Okay, this is basically the same thing. However, under state law, general laws, chapter 41, section 81Q, we need to hold a public hearing. So to change our subdivision rules, we just went through the process, so we know exactly what the process is. So we are going to have to advertise it, hold a public hearing, and after we vote to change those pronouns, I will have to record it at the Registry of Deeds and file it with the town clerk.
Can we stack that on top of the public meeting on the 12th?
That's what I was just thinking.
You know what?
It seems to be pretty cut and dry.
There is no rush for this, so I think we could even pick April. There's no rush.
Okay.
I would rather do it in the future, so, because that meeting is going to be a long meeting, I believe.
But I think after that long meeting, there'll probably be very few that stick around for this one, and I don't think there's going to be much opposition for it anyway. I think it would go pretty quickly if we schedule this for after. And wouldn't it help just to be able to send out one public hearing notice with both public hearing, or do we have to do
Oh, yeah,
two
no,
separate
it
notices?
doesn't, it isn't any cheaper
Okay.
to advertise it. I don't know, the zoning amendments are big. I think you're going to be exhausted too, and there is no rush for the other one.
Okay.
I mean, if we were going to stack it, I'd rather get rid of it in the first 5 minutes than the last 5 minutes. Wouldn't that be? 'Cause, I
Either
mean,
way. Yeah.
This is, it's pretty rote. Everybody voted on it in 2021.
Yep.
So this is just, revise or revisiting it and then,
Right, it's
This will
gone
be just
undone
like
for
a
3 years.
reinforcement, like.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So if you feel like stacking it for the first 5 minutes, great. If not, we'll do it in April.
I'm sorry,
If you feel like stacking it
stacking it?
with the public meeting on the 12th in the first 5 minutes, because that's pretty much how long it's going to
Okay.
take.
Do you want to do that?
Well, it'll stop us from having to do another public meeting in April, right?
Right.
What
What would be the
to do is like
opposition of
save
doing
time.
that? What would be the
not-
not good reason why to do it?
Right, why would we not
Oh,
want to?
Because I think that night is going to be taken up full with the public hearing for the zoning amendments. I think you could get like 70 people
You're going to get people that
all
are coming in
wanting to
already.
speak up and on these zoning amendments. It's almost going to be like a mini town meeting, I'm picturing. That's why we're going to have it over in the cafetorium. I think you should go and with the April date, because this isn't that important. There's no rush. No one is waiting for it, and it's just another thing to worry about that night.
Okay.
Okay, April's fine.
Then you can focus all your attention on the zoning amendments, and you don't have to worry about anything else.
Okay. All right, let's have a motion.
I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing according to MGL Chapter 41, Section 81Q for April 10th, 2024, 7 PM here at the Fuller Meadows School to modify our subdivision, planning board subdivision, and change all specific pronouns to gender-neutral pronouns with a manner consistent with the examples in the warrant for the annual town meeting 2021.
Somebody give
I
me a
second
second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
I will say, too, there was only 9 words in there that need to change. 9. In that, and it's a big document, too.
Town planner report.
Okay, the select board at first, they were inviting the planning board to a joint meeting. However, it's not a joint meeting anymore. They're not ready to appoint another alternate member. They would still like to see the planning board at their February 20th meeting to discuss the zoning amendments. I talked to the chair before this meeting, and I will talk to town council and our town administrator about the board discussing the zoning amendments before they open the public hearing, and just to make sure that that is okay. If it is not, if he suggests, that you'd be best not talking about it before the public hearing, I can go and talk to them about the zoning amendments on February 20th. But I just wanted to let everyone know, to have that. I know there's a couple of you that are leaving that aren't going to be
Yeah,
here.
I won't be available for that
Right,
meeting.
so 2 of you won't be here.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll keep you updated on what happens with that.
Thank you.
Okay,
And that's really all I have for my report.
all right. Anybody have anything important from their respective committees?
Okay.
No, I mean, we had our Affordable Housing Trust meeting last time. We spent a lot of time, it was joint with the planning board, spent a lot of time talking about these zoning amendments, whether we think we should go forward with a bunch of them, one of them, just MBTA, potentially a few that we thought, might pass without too much opposition. I think that's how we came to, these 3 potential zoning amendments.
I think you have a survey that just went live.
We do.
This past week.
It is available. It's been shared through several different social media outlets. I will say that I received some private messages within Facebook, and I encourage people to email Katrina, copy in myself and Brian. We appreciate all the feedback we can get. So the more people that take that survey, the more people that reach out, just know that that's what the public hearing is for, to address specific questions. But please provide the feedback, in advance of that through the survey if possible.
And how can they take the survey?
Very good question. I believe it is also available on the town website.
I think it is.
Let me just double check on where that is on the town website, middletonmass.gov.
I saw a link also in the Facebook Middleton Families page.
Yeah, and this is for the Affordable Housing Trust. It's not to be confused with the survey on the zoning amendments.
And just for anyone that did see some of the comments on the Facebook survey, I want to clarify, I am not a developer. I have never developed property in Middleton or anywhere in the United States. I don't plan to become a developer. So anything related to myself being a developer is untrue.
I don't see it on the home page, but it could be under Affordable
it's,
Housing Trust.
Torches and pitchforks, my friend.
So if you go on the main town website, there is a section that says, on the middle column, Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw Update. If you click on Information and Updates, about halfway down, you'll see click here for proposed amendments, and then a little bit further down is the link to the survey.
So that's the survey for zoning amendments, not the Affordable Housing Trust. I don't think the Affordable Housing Trust survey is up on the town website now that I look at it.
Okay,
So I think that they're sharing it in other ways.
gotcha.
And it could be because they know that the zoning amendment survey was up for a certain period of time and they didn't want to confuse people.
Gotcha.
Ours will be coming down soon.
That makes sense.
And so then they can put the affordable housing one up there.
Okay, I'm going to be setting another meeting within 3-4 weeks with the MPC to try to get some feedback on, what we're doing as far as talking to the different departments, different committees and so forth, to follow up on that checklist that Katrina provided us for, the plans and how are we doing kind of thing.
Yep.
So hopefully by next month I should have some more information for you.
Good.
Anything else? No? All right, then let's call this meeting adjourned.